Hey y'all! Once again, very familiar face for the listeners of the show. Chris Franklin from NJ.com, here to talk with us. Eagles beat writer, who's out there all day catching the videos, catching all the latest on stuff. And Chris, tell the people a little bit about yourself in case I didn't wrap all that up well.
No, you did a great job, man. Yeah, with NJ.com. Been there now, heading into the third regular season now. It's been interesting to see how much this team has turned over since the Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson days. And yeah, see Franklin News on Twitter, Instagram. But yeah, it's with NJ.com, working with Les Bowen. It's been a ride doing that as well too. A local legend in the field. So it's been a fun time and getting ready for this season.
Yeah. So you called it right on. You were on about just over a month ago, and you said that you felt Jack Stoll was a lock for this roster. They ended up keeping three. What are your thoughts about that position, and who would, first off, on your guy Jack Stoll? That was a good call, lock.
I'll tell you what, though, when it was at Cleveland, with the end of the Cleveland joint practices and into Miami, I was starting to feel a little unsure about myself when it came to that, man. It was there's some times where he's a better blocker than he is receiver, and
Yep.
there were some things where he bobbled some passes and didn't show that sure-handedness, but I think they make up a lot with Grant Calcaterra now. I think he's a guy who if he improves his blocking, he can become that tight end number two, and then use Stoll in a variety of other areas as well too. And who knows, maybe Tyree Jackson comes back and Stoll's the out man out. But I think this team is pretty deep, and they can use multiple tight end looks and still have the effect. Is it going to be like Goddard and Ertz together? They won't be, but I think you can still do a lot with this group of tight ends.
And for people, who play, their understanding. I mean, Madden is fantastic. I mean, it's a great pastime, but their understanding is like exhibition Madden. When you're talking about your number two, number three tight ends, you can use those interchangeably. There may be some downs or some series where you want to, or formations where you want to have Stoll and Goddard, but maybe you want to have formation with Calcaterra and Goddard. On passing down, potential passing down. So it gives you a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things.
Yeah, when you look at how much this team used, I think they were among like the top 10 teams that used 13 personnel with the running back and three tight ends last season. And there's so much you can do formationally. You basically go big, so you can get the matchups when you have everybody inside the box, and then teams they may probably run and rush get like an extra linebacker and defensive lineman field. Well, now if you spread them out, you can really hammer them home. If you want to go play action pass, you really put teams in position to not have as many secondary guys back there when you do that stuff. So it's going to be up to the creativity of Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen to see what they can do with those. But overall, and like you said, you can't have it like Madden. You got to have some of these guys play special teams too. So you'll see Stoll out there. You'll see Calcaterra doing some of that stuff as well too. But yeah, it's a pretty deep position for them.
Absolutely. I think we identified that some time ago. It's a good problem to have. A guy like Noah Togi. I don't think he's been acclaimed by anybody.
Yeah, he's on a practice. Yeah, you have him on a practice squad, and then you have Tyree Jackson on the pup list, who still isn't back. It was one of those things where it's tough. I mean, you look at the fact I told you now that you had Rich Rod have to get signed with the Chargers because there's just no room with them. And you saw along that Rich Rodgers is valued by this organization. He's been around so long. You just don't have space for him. So and I don't see any teams carrying 5 tight ends at all, nothing like that. But yeah, they do their homework well when it comes to that position.
I saw, salute to Anthony Harris, his tweet today, and just how he carried himself in terms of being a Philadelphia Eagle, somebody who's a part of the community. You hate to see, good guys have to go, but as far as the X's and O's go, I was shocked to see that the Eagles team actually made that business decision, because that's what it was. It was a business decision, and really, I identified that. I felt that was a real worry, a space of worry for me. And he actually, Anthony Harris is probably going to be he'll be picked up by a team within the next couple days here. Are you in agreement with that?
I think he did. I think he is just not only just. I still think he has some left. I don't think he was the system that he's going to be right now does really well, and I think he does better and playing more strong at this point in his career. I think he plays more like a truer strong safety point than being an interchangeable way. But I think when you look at his leadership, I think that's the guy. He brings a lot to the table, and I still remember right before that preseason game against Miami, he was the one that was breaking everybody down, trying to get the rookies up. He's well respected by a lot of those people in the locker room as well too, and overall good guy because we've heard a story about how he helped somebody take him to a father daughter dance and stuff like that. So when you have a combination of guy and a guy who can still play at a high level, I think it's fine. Like in my heart of hearts, I really thought that it was just going to be like a week one. He wasn't going to be on the team week one because they didn't want to guarantee his contract, and then they were going to try to bring him back week two. But personally, I thought he would be a better third safety than a guy like Kayvon Wallace, than a Reed Blankenship. Personally, I think Blankenship has the ability to develop. I mean, he was a ball hawk at Middle Tennessee State. He knows how to find the ball, and he was during his preseason. He was around the ball the whole entire time, either whether it was pass deflections or tackles. I think for me personally, it was the Kayvon Wallace one I just didn't get. I mean, he played better the second half of training camp, so maybe they thought, hey, you know what, this guy's been around. He knows our culture. He knows the stuff. He's there. But yeah, I thought that. I still think personally, I think there's a spot for Anthony Harris to be on this remaining 53-man roster, but he's going to get his opportunities though.
I think that's another. I think, and no disrespect. I don't think that Kayvon Wallace is on the same magnitude as the disappointment that you have with a Jalen Reagor, but I think he's kind of a year back in that kind of progression where it's like he's got to show he hasn't exactly sat on the hot seat for very long. I don't think that they keep on forever, but they do invest their draft capital and they're saying we're going to wring it out and get every little bit of talent and make sure that we're sure that you don't go somewhere and ball out.
Yeah, and it's tough because I look at Wallace where he's at now, and I know it may have been unfair to him as well too because he was a lot. Because once Brian Dawkins gave a thing like he know how to vouch for that the seal approval. When you look at what the hype that was coming out of here, it's like, hey, you got a seal, and hey, this guy can play in the box. He can still cover that. And then when you see him in the field, it didn't translate to that. That's where I thought that was a little thing. Like the guy's spirited. You see him out there. He likes to talk. He's one of the guys like tries to get under the skin of some of the opponents. I mean, he definitely got under the skin of some of the Browns guys. That was some fun banter that was going back and forth on that last joint practice. But maybe this time, maybe they get away with him using them this week against the Lions. But long term, unless there's a big turnaround, it's tough for me to see him remaining on here for the future.
Wow, Chris Franklin with the strong takes to start off.
It's like this thing's like I look at him and I see because the thing is you see moments, you see flashes of okay, this guy can be a decent safety in this league, and you're like, okay, he's finally going to put it together. And then for every time that he takes that step forward, he takes a step back, and it's like he missed a read or there's a miscommunication with another safety. You look like, what's going on, man? You should put this guy. You're in year 3 now. You're going. You're year 3. You should be putting this stuff together and getting easier. It just hasn't happened with him.
He's kind of you brought up a couple. You brought up Reed Blankenship. He has the kind of thing going on with him where he has more of a reputation as a ball hawk. But with him and Marcus Epps, it's that he's always around the ball. He's always around where the action. He's going to the right. He's in the right area. That the next step is making the plays, making splash plays. It feels like Kayvon is kind of like I can't see him when I'm playing. When I'm watching him play, I'm not. It's because he's again making the wrong reads and not splashing.
I think he's letting his eye. And it's tough playing safety, especially because you have so much stuff going on. You got to maintain that eye discipline of, wow, there's emotion going on. Oh wait, there's a potential comeback. Oh, wait, and then you start to still process so much. I don't know. This is if he just lets his natural instincts play and stops basically get caught up in the wash and keeping that eye discipline on his key and processing and stuff quickly. I think he can salvage it. But 3 years now, and you just see some improvement in that aspect.
So to players who have had, great success in Philadelphia, Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, if I told you again, we do that time traveling thing, and I tell you that one of these guys make the Pro Bowl this year, which one would you be like, okay, I can see that?
That's tough. You know, I could see BG being the guy because when you have him lined up next to Hassan Reddick on one side, and then you have teams trying to adjust their offensive line that part. Then you have to look to BG's right, and you got Fletcher Cox there, and you have Javon Hargrave there, and you need the interior because you don't want to get beat that way. I think you can see some more one-on-one matchups. And given the state of some of these teams that are on their schedule at the right tackle spot, it's not the strongest position. When you look down on the list of the teams that are scheduled, that's why I probably think if of those two, I think he does well. I think he does the one that would be to get the Pro Bowl nod. And but the thing is also when you look at the tackle's going to be tough as well too. And also I think it's better for edge rushers to get in. It's easier for edge rushers to get in because tackles we know Aaron Donald's going to take a spot. So that's what you're one less down already there as well too.
Start off,
yeah. And it's tough because I think this is going to be. I think it's going to be. I think we'll see a different Fletch this year than we did last year.
Okay.
I think he still looks quick to me. Like he's not as quick as he was in his 20 when he first joined the team in 2012, 2013. He's not as quick as that, but I think he's more comfortable in what the role's going to be for him here and what the scheme is as well too. And also the fact is this could be his last year in Philadelphia. It's going to be the last year playing next to Brandon Graham, playing next to Javon Hargrave, who himself is going to potentially be a free agent too. So I think he's looking at it. He's like, you know what? I think it's my last. It's going to be my last year. Let's move out. And he sounds like he's in a better mind. Better mind. He's been and everything else. So I think he could be. I think we'll see a better version of Fletcher Cox than the one that we did last year.
I was just watching somebody put together. They chopped together all of Jason Peters' great, some good plus blocks that he had last year for the Bears. Do you think that that's going to be a smooth transition? He's going to play well for the Cowboys, or
I think that I looked at the signing and when I heard it, I know when they started, they were interested in like why. For me, I just don't. I know they're desperate because Tyron Smith is a Pro Bowl and it's a big drop off from that to the backup to everything else. And I look at Peters and I see the problem with him is you don't know how many plays you're going to get for him to remain on the field before something he's making nagging an injury or whatever. It could be his elbow, it could be his leg or whatever. And he's one of the things when he's okay, like when he's up and running and he's healthy is fine. But the problem is going to be you're going to have to have a good backup option to begin with when he's in there because you don't know if he's going to miss a couple plays. And given the depth that the Cowboys have at left tackle, it's rough as to begin with when it comes to that. So
he is the backup. That's the thing.
Yeah, you're looking like that too. And I wonder if it's one of those week nudges, like we'll sign you to the practice squad and we'll ramp you up if, say, week 3, 4, you feel you're comfortable. Because also they won't have to guarantee his contract if he was on the roster to begin with this week because he's a vested veteran. And the last thing I'm pretty sure you want to do is guarantee Jason Peters a contract at this point of his career. You don't know if he's going to stay around. So I wouldn't be surprised if you say, hey, listen, Jason, get yourself ready and get yourself in playing shape. Week 2, week 3, you know our calls, you know our systems, and you go from there. But it's I would have thought to be saying Jason Peters is in the Cowboys uniform right now.
No, it's going to be bad. Did you see the pictures of him with the fitted on?
With the Dallas D on there and everything. And it's tough to walk back some of the stuff he said too about like Cowboys being arrogant. I know. I mean, hey, I'm getting a check from a team like that, and it's big. You got to go. Okay, you got to eat humble pie and walk some of that stuff back. But it's got to be weird for him as well too, especially as long as he's heard about Philadelphia fans being against the Cowboys and vice versa. So I understand he's making a living and everything, but that's got to be tough right now.
Are they the biggest threat? I mean, Peter King and all these, a lot of people are now picking the Eagles outright to win the East. Are they the biggest threat?
I still think so because the Cowboys still have a lot of weapons on offense, and the fact that they've beaten the Eagles three straight times and a couple times in convincing fashion when it comes as
Oh
well too.
yeah,
I think they're still the Eagles needed to win at least one of these games just from a psyche standpoint, just to get that monkey off of their backs. And I think they still are. I saw the one thing where it had like I think it was Chris Sims that had like the Eagles and the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. Like, oh, then Peter King with the Saints being the one seed. I'm like, hey, if you see something in there, like I'll be loud and wrong in that one too, and I'll come back and say, you know what, Peter King was really good on that one. I'll be loud and
yeah.
wrong on that one too, but I don't foresee the.
I can't see that. I could
I
see
think
them being good.
I can see him being decent. Like I know the Eagles don't want to see him because they got that first round draft pick, but it's one of those things. Just like the Cowboys have the thing on the Eagles, or the Eagles have the thing on the Saints, and that's why I don't think. I think if it ever came down, I think they would have the same record, and I think the Eagles would have the tiebreaker on that aspect. I think the Eagles are a better team at this point than they are the Saints. So I think the Saints make the playoffs probably a 6 or 7 seed, maybe. But nah, I just don't see them as the one seed personally.
So when the Birds see the Commanders in Week 3, the Commanders are going to have coming off playing the Jags and the Lions. The Lions, who the Eagles lead off. Will we be in a situation potentially where the Commanders are in lead position to start off that week?
I think it's one of the things they're going to hype the game up completely because I think it'll be 2-2-0 teams, and then it goes to Eagles gets to face the Carson Wentz gets to face off against his old team, and it's going to be one of those weeks where it's going to be a lot of talk about a lot of talk about it. I can see them being 2-0. I really do. I think that just like the Cowboys, they have a great receiving core. I mean, Logan Reed's still working his way back from his injuries as well too. So it depends on how well he is to see if he's going to be ready by then. And the tight ends have given the Eagles problems, and he can be one of those guys that can do that. And then the Commanders to me are going to be one of those teams that are going to be pesky because of their defense. Because Ron Rivera is, to me, is still one of the better defensive minds in this game, and it's a matter of just it's never been consistent on offense. That's the main thing with them, and it depends which wins that happens there. But I can see it being 2-0. But I think the Eagles win that. I think the Eagles win that game. They should win that game. It'll be close, uncomfortably close, I think, for a lot of people. But I think they win
Yes,
that game.
because deep in there, Carson Wentz does have some great, and that is why he was able to get by with so many of these pretty awful turnovers because the sum of what made some of those great plays that everybody cheered for was a lot of near greatness or greatness for some period of time.
Yeah. And he can't force the ball into bad spots like he did too. He can't play too much hero ball like he used to do. And he's at that point where, gosh, this sound like I don't want to be like sound like I'm doing like hot take night. He reminds me a lot when I see that number 2 and everything him wearing that. It reminds me a little bit of Jeff George in the
Mm,
fact that he had a great arm, a guy who everybody was wondering, if he and everybody kept saying if he's a guy that if he finally puts it together at X or at this place or even with the Commanders, even back then, if he finally puts it together, then you have a quarterback that you can really go far with. And that's the thing you see with Wentz. You see that he has a lot of the tools that are necessary, but it just seems like at the most inopportune time, he turns the ball, he fumbles the ball, forces the ball over and it's picked off, and it leaves it leaves their head scratching. And now with a couple of these injuries that have been piled on with him and everything else, he's at the point where he needs to rely on he needs to not necessarily be a game manager, but something close toward that. I think he can still be really good, but the Commanders are going to have to live and die by his arm when it
they
comes to that.
will. They will. So Trey Sermon, another pickup from Howie Roseman. Do you think that he'll have a substantial role with the team?
I think for me, I think he's one of the 4 minute guys. And I mean, like when it's the Eagles, if the Eagles are up and they're running their 4 minute offense, try to just take as much time off the clock. He's a guy that I would want to see in there because you wanted somebody you want to power back and begin with. And I think Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell have done that, especially in the red zone. They've done a decent job, but it's tougher to bring Sermon down. I think he was averaging something like one. I think he had like 1.9 yards
Yes.
after the contact last year, which
Yes.
is good. And you think of that, I think of Jordan Howard, a guy like that who is tough to bring down on that first hit. So I think when you have a guy like Sermon, if he works in conjunction with Sanders late in games and just trying to milk the clock out, I think he can have that role. And then I think it might be one of those things where I wonder, and this is where the roster management is going to come into play here. Do you dress four running backs for his first game? Do you sit them? Just let them get more sense of get a better sense of the offense. I'm not sure. I think you could probably get away with sitting him this week just to say, hey, you know what? We still want you. We still think you're going to be a valuable part of this team. Just learn the offense a little bit more. Then you're here from here on out. And you're dressing every other game. But I want to see how much he progresses. I think he could be a really decent piece for this team to use, especially in games.
Is it too much to even start the LeGarrette Blount kind of conversation with Trey
Yeah, I'm
Sermon?
gonna hold off a little. Not just yet. I mean, he's got a lot of qualities and a lot of things that I think Garrett Blunt can do. I think he's just a tad bit better receiver than Blunt as well too. But I think he need obviously if you obviously when you look at the way he played, like I'm shocked the 49ers. Personally, I was shocked the 49ers let him go, but they failed
Yeah.
they have a couple running backs, especially the rookie. His name escapes me right now, but they have a couple of rookie. The one rookie that they think is good. So I look at Sermon. There's a spot for him, and he's also good insurance for the future too. So because you got two of your four running backs on the roster now, our contracts are over after the end of the season. Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, and if you don't want to keep having them play the waiting game of is Jordan Howard ready to go, is his shoulders ready to go that way too. You get a younger option and potentially cheaper option as well too.
No, I think that's as soon as I saw Trey Sermon brought on the team, that was sayonara. Bye Jordan Howard, and thank you for all the great carries, especially that Packers game a couple years back in Lambeau. I always remember that. That was a great performance. A lot of great performances, to be serious. But yeah, they're not bringing him back now. That's gone.
And I thought it was very telling too because he's been on visits. He's been on at least two or three that I know of that he's been out there and he's still available. And listen, I don't know. This is a pure speculation. I have nothing to back this up to. But if something were to happen where say Sermon were to get hurt, something like that for at least he can go back because you can't call Jason Huntley because he got picked up off waivers and at least Howard knows the system. So he's comfortable around everything in Philadelphia. So maybe that's a call if there's a significant injury, maybe you call him out. But the fact nobody's picked him up, I think is pretty telling too.
I watching Sermon, not Sermon, Huntley throughout this preseason. I was hotter on Huntley before the preseason, really getting to watch a lot of watching him. He misses the hole a lot of times. I mean, I think he misses the opportunity to really. He has the top end speed, but he's not. I don't think he's seeing the field very well. So if he has to end up not coming back to the Birds, I think I'll be okay.
And the thing is with him is like he's a great outside zone runner because he's gotten better, especially too when it comes to his patience running toward the outside. He'll let the lanes develop and then he'll take his one cut up and run. But the thing is when he's between, he's not as to me he's just not as effective in between the tackles. If you get him on the edge, good luck. You get him, and the one thing I really was surprised on is I thought he would get a better shot as a kick returner because he excelled at that. I think he'd be a pretty good one if he got consistent reps as a kick returner. But
okay,
such as life is not happening. So I think he'll be okay. He'll carve himself out a career in something for at least a couple of years. I think in this league.
Speaking of returners, Devin Allen has changed not Devin Allen. Britton Covey has changed his number to 18. Do you think that's a signal that they're like, hey, you're the punt returner now?
I first off, I'm shocked they gave. I know it's funny. I'm shocked they gave away that 18 very, very quickly.
Oh my
I was
gosh!
They turned the page quickly. I'm like, at least let it breathe for a season. Let's sit back and then you go for it. Like, no, Britton, you're 18 now. Okay, yeah. I think it's tough because and this goes to the thing. I can see them elevating them because the only thing is you can elevate a guy like 3 times and they don't have that one. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe I don't know. I mean, remember Quez was back there taking a few back there. I don't foresee Avante Maddox doing it unless there's a severe emergency.
No,
he's been taking several ones. But
he's
a former punt returner. He's a former punt returner when he was at Pitt. He wasn't bad. So at least
But he's our
because
slot corner. We
yeah,
can't risk that.
you don't want anybody that high, and that's why even with Watkins, as much as he's going to be used, that one
Yep.
too. So there could be a couple moves on the horizon. Maybe get a couple guys on IR. I mean, you're going to have a slot open up pretty soon with Andre Dillard. They haven't officially placed him on there, so you're going to have a spot there. So you could elevate Covey and do that. And I think if that happens, then he's your punt returner because he was the first guy that was out there when it came to taking the reps of for both kickoff and punt returns as well too. He's the first one out there, followed by Rager and everybody else on that one too. So I think they're comfortable with that. I asked Aaron Moorhead, Eagles wide receivers coach. He's back there a lot with a lot of these returners, and he, in conjunction with Michael Clay, they said a lot. They want their punt return to be like a hands first, like catch the ball first, and use almost like the baseball analogy, try and track the ball like the center fielder. Like if it comes to yards, trust me, this team could use a dynamic punt returner because this team could use all the field position help it can get. But you look at the thing, and I think they feel safer with Covey back there because he's probably the most sure-handed one. I think I only seen one drop one the whole entire training camp just from looking at everything else. So I think he's sure-handed. He's not going to. He hasn't shown at least to this point that he's going to be a burner as of yet, but he'll get you a couple of yards if he has enough space.
Should fans who haven't had the chance to watch as much as you have, which is like 99% of humans walking the earth, how is he? How much faster than Greg Ward is Britton Covey?
They're about to see. The thing is, I think Greg Ward has better straight line speed. I think Covey's just a little bit quicker with that first move around there. When you look at, I think it's not. I don't personally. I don't think it's that much of a difference when you look at the two of them. But because I thought there's a couple times where, especially in some of those games where Covey would have had a chance to like show off his speed and take some returns, and he was caught up. He really got to think of like 3-4 yards. That's about it before he was wrapped up. So I'd probably say it's about one and the same. I see him basically. I think if he was still on the roster and he wasn't hurt, I think Greg Ward would be back there too because they value just somebody who can catch the ball cleanly and just start to drive from there. So Covey's done it in the past, but it's Pac-12, and I might be biased against my Pac-12 teams, but give us a Pac-12. That's what's happening lately. But nah, well, on a serious note, I think he'll be fine. He'll be a sure-handed guy.
So let's go to the phones, guys. They had it where you just referred to this, but somebody is really cool with those guys and are letting them run with these stories. But they got the Andre Dillard news really quick. You said that they put him on the 4-week IR.
They say if he's put on IR, he has to miss at least 4 weeks, and if he's going right now, they're saying I believe it was Ian Rappaport said that because he's having the surgery on Tuesday, so it'll be 4 to 6 weeks he could be out as well too. So that's enough time to buy him enough time because what they can, I guess, foresee him doing is placing Dillard IR. There could be another injury or two that could be placed on IR, but it's still his medical stuff, so I don't know that one too. But if you get that space, you can bring up Covey to fill the spot there. Then if they really need like another like backup to get them by, they can use a guy like LaRaven Clark, elevate him because you get the three with him as well too. Use him for a couple games, and Coyote Awasika, he's played tackle as well too. In fact, when Dillard in my lot,
Oh man, tornadoes.
Hey Alexa, turn on light. Alexa, turn on light. Sorry about that.
Listeners, this is the obligatory.
the tornado
that
one
happens when Chris and I record.
Yeah, there's always one. But getting back to the thing, I think they can bring up Coyote Awasika. I think he's a guy who's when Dillard and Mailata both had their concussions. What happened was that they didn't have they had to use Raven Clark at left tackle, which was an adventure. I think he hasn't played left tackle in a while, and it was a bit of an adventure. And Coyote stepped in because he was a left tackle back when he was in Buffalo before he came to the Eagles and with the University of Buffalo, and he stepped in. There was some things getting back used to that too. One guy I wouldn't be surprised they try to use Josh Sills, the guy who was surprised from the 53-man roster because he filled in as well too. Played left tackle with the second team and he actually held his own too. So, and he's a versatile guy. He's already on the 53-man roster. Don't have to do too much stuff. So, I can see them they want to if they want to insulate themselves a little bit more, Raven Clark joins the roster, and I think
Is
he's the
Raven
first one.
Clark ready to if they have to go for 6 weeks?
If it goes down to that point, I'd probably have a tight end standing blocking next to him a lot. I think you probably could use some help that way. And I
Like
mean,
keep
if it
Jack
was a
Stoll week.
yeah. I mean, if Mailata's out, that it concerns me right now. If Mailata goes down, that's going to be tough for them to. They'll have to find a lot of ways. Maybe you roll out Jalen Hurts to the right a little bit more to keep some of that pressure away. But the Eagles should hope with everything that for the next 4 to 6 weeks that nothing happens to Jordan Mailata.
My gosh. So when the Cowboys come to Philly on October 16th, they'll have played the Bucks, the Bengals, the Giants, the Commanders, and then the Rams. Out of that 5 games, what's the record going to be when the Cowboys come to Philly?
It'll be 2-3, I think. I think when you
Wow.
look at that's tough. Right? It's one of the things what happens when you win the division. You got that first place schedule. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like they played the Buccaneers tough. I don't think the last time they played them, they played them tough. And the thing is, I can easily see it be a 3-2 with everything going on with Tom Brady, and then that's a heavy situation. You got to think as well too, and getting back on the field. I know he's from a scheme standpoint, he probably knows everything from front and back. But that's his personal. What he's got going on in his personal life is that's tough. That's a lot of things to take
Yes.
in. But I think I can see the Cowboys close. I mean, they can even escape with a win. I think in that setting as well too. But I think more likely, like everything else, 2-3. I think everybody's going to start to think, oh wow, we got the Cowboys where we want them. We got the Cowboys where we want them. And yeah, you can't even if they're 2-3 and the Eagles are say like 4-1, 5. You cannot take this team lightly. I think it's. Yeah, I mean, maybe if they go, if they lose the first half of the season, Mike McCarthy knows he's done. Maybe they just go on a tank. But nah, I think that first Cowboys game is going to be rough. I think that's the one that the Eagles lose at the link, but I have them winning on Christmas Eve in Dallas. I think it's going to be one of those deals.
Well, I'm starting to hear people doing their predictions, and the numbers are getting really high. I think I mean people are
Yeah,
excited. I mean, but I'm starting to hear 14s and 15s, and I'm like, guys, do you guys know how that means that not only are you guys awesome, the health has been great. You've got no other like roster considerations that you need. Like you have a Milata. Maybe something else happens and you drop a game here or there. 15-2, you pretty much you steamroll the league. Those 2 losses mean nothing to you.
and probably means one of them was probably the Giants, the last game against the Giants of the year, where it's like you rest. I don't foresee that. I definitely don't see 15 or anything like that. Because also, I think when you look at it as well too, there's going to be a couple games where it could be one of those things where you have one of the Giants, like you actually winning both of them, they lose that one, but all of a sudden they may beat the Packers or the Titans.
Yep.
There's always going to be the inverse of a lot of stuff because this league is forever changing and is evolving as the season goes along. But 15, 14, no. I think personally, I still have 11-6. I
Yeah.
think that gives them enough. That's enough to win the NFC East. I think
Yes.
they're the 4 seed, 3 or 4 seed, somewhere around there. And I think, given that they would have a home playoff game, I think that would make the whole entire difference. Because last year, being a 7, they're going to be on the road, and yeah, nah,
Yep.
I didn't see that. They were still learning. Basically, that I think that experience. It's not like the Phillies what happened in 2007. I think that experience for them getting what it takes to win in the playoffs, even though they got boat race just like the Phillies in 2007. I
Yep.
think it's one of those things where it's enough they know what they have to do and they have a little bit more success. I think they win around in the playoffs, but I don't foresee them going to the Super Bowl or anything. I definitely don't foresee 15 wins or anything like that either.
I just, guys, and then that what that does is sets the team up for failure because then if you have a 12-win season, then it was like, no, that team should have went 16-1. It's like it's a failure. Like,
Like, what are you doing here? This is awful. Now, one thing I do think that helps them is besides the Arizona game, they're not really traveling as much as they were last year. I think that helps them out a lot. And you still have to go, like say Chicago, you still have to go to Dallas and everything, but that's more manageable. I think a lot of your games are on the East Coast this year, and I think that helps out too because after a while, like you went to Vegas, okay, you went to a couple of these Denver, you had to go basically go crossing back and forth and adjusting your schedule, but having everything closer towards your normal time zone, or if it not, it's essential. I think that plays a little bit into it as well too.
So I'm not sure if NJ made you pin it down, but this is we're taping this Monday night, the week before, 6 days before. But where are you at this moment? Where are you leaning on in terms of a score for the Eagles on Sunday?
Chris Franklin of sound mind and body on this Monday, this great Labor Day. I think the Eagles win. I don't think it's going to be the blowout like we saw last year. I really truly don't. I think the Lions have had a long time to prepare for the Eagles, and I think they still remember that beating pretty well. And
Yes.
it could be one of those things where you're looking at heading into the first half, Eagles are up for one score, and you're like, what's going on here? But then I think the Eagles pull away a little bit as well too, and I think if I had to take a score, 31-17 Eagles.
31-17. At this moment, and information comes in, but at this moment, I'm leaning very much towards what you're talking. I think 22-29 Eagles.
It's not bad. Yeah, I think the Lions have pieces. That's the thing with the Lions have pieces,
Mm-hmm.
and especially I like their defense. I like their defense. I think probably more than I should, but I like their defense. And I think they have a couple, especially Hawkinson and the tight ends. This is going to be a big test. And I think when you look at the way Hawkinson, he was targeted 11 times last year in that game, and the Eagles always had issues with covering tight ends last year, so they hold them in control, and they keep just basically let Jared Goff be Jared Goff and put him in the pressure. He's going to throw three or four balls that are going to be considered turnovers. So they get that. I think they win that game.
Are the white jerseys and black pants? Is that the official now that Jalen suggested that they will? Is that what we should expect on Sunday, Chris?
I don't know, because I wonder if they save that. I wonder if they're going to say that for the season. If things need to be turned around, they pull that out a little bit later. I wouldn't be surprised if they go white jerseys, green pants,
and
then
start
pull
off.
And then if they are like saying a 2-game losing streak, or it's a big game that could be like an important tiebreaker or something like that, and they're on the road, then all of a sudden, hey, well, the white on black's back. I can't wait to see that the black helmets and the black jerseys. That fits.
Which week will that happen?
Not sure as of yet. I'm not sure what they're going to deem the blackout week, but I think the Packers will be a good week to do it. Tennessee would be a good week to do it. Yeah, there's a couple options in the middle as well too. It's going to be great. But I think everybody's waiting. Black on black is nice, but I think everybody's waiting for next year when Kelly Green comes back.
Speaking of the black on black, what about are we far away now from COVID where guys would do the ski mask, bring the ski mask back for the turnovers?
I'd hold off still a little bit, because I'm still seeing a couple of guys being missing time for these things, but I wouldn't ski mask. Nah, I think they'll hold off for now. For now,
that's close contact. Like
yeah. Can you imagine right now for it? We're out. We've lost about 6 players for week 15 matchup with playoff. What happened? Well, they're sharing a ski mask. Wait, what? You're supposed to be robbing wins. You're supposed to be robbing your own teammates. No, this guy.
Well, Chris, as always, man, great having you on. Tell the people where we can follow along and show you some support and continue to learn more about the birds, because you're getting a lot of this stuff really early.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, man, for having me on. It's always great talking football with you. If you go to nj.com/Eagles, you can read my stuff and less and stuff. Twitter and Instagram, C Franklin News. Try to post pictures and videos and all that stuff as much as I can on there. And this is going to be a No Huddle Show podcast, but I like doing this podcast too as well too. So yeah, it's fun. But those we can find everything and go from there.
Yeah, and you can follow me at Mention Pod for this. My personal page is POLITIDOPE. You got the taping. You got the obvious obligatory Chris Franklin and Matt emergency situation on one of our ends with the lights flipping off. It's authentic episode.
It has to happen every year. There's no storms today, and of course everything is the perfect time. So close, so close.
Thank y'all for listening. Take care.